All right, good morning, everybody, including everybody in the back room over there. We'll be starting as we're coming to, oh yes, officially exactly to the point of starting 9:05. And so let me just briefly introduce myself. For those of you who don't know, I'm the director of SAO, South African Astronomical Observatory, here where we are sitting. And from our behalf, from SAO's behalf, a very, very warm welcome to SAO and to Cape Town. For those of you, and many of you who have traveled here, it's actually remarkable to see people here in this room from from elsewhere after such a long time. We had a conference, international conference here in February 2020, and some of you were there, I know, which was the last event in this room, a international event, and this is the first one after that. So it's so good to be seeing things moving a little bit ahead. Yeah, so, but welcome also all of you who are joining online. I know there are many, and yeah, I'm really hoping this would be a great week to celebrate science, astronomy. And in fact, the world is a different place as it was 2 years ago, isn't it? So many things have happened. It's crazy, but here we are doing astronomy, and let's celebrate that this week of networking, making African science shine, getting to know each other, and you know, making things efficient, proactive. When we work together, train together, tell about astronomy, do research, doing it together is so much more stronger. So yeah, and it was 3 years ago also when in the same room the relaunch of AfAS happened, and the committees were formed, and this is again the General Assembly of AfAS, and welcome for that. And let me just, before starting, so this morning session there'll be several welcoming messages from different parts of the continent, from South Africa as well. There'll be a message from our ministry, and let me actually just briefly explain for those of you who don't know. SAO is a facility of the National Research Foundation in South Africa, who is a entity of the Department of Science and Innovation. So the minister will be giving a message as well. So we are a government science facility, but as SAO, we are very proud to be part of the history and development of astronomy in this continent, both professionally and networking wise. And we host AfAS. The AfAS offices are on this site, and seeing people come through over the years is a real pleasure. And I'm very proud to be in an organization which wants to be part of continental professional development of astronomy. And that, for that reason, I'm really warmly welcoming you all. And enjoy the week, both the science part, the outreach part, the social aspects. And for the first message, let me invite Professor Jamal Mimouni. He's the president of the African Astronomical Society, to say a few words.
Hello, everybody. In the name of AfAS, in the name of the Executive Committee of AfAS, I wish again, after Petri, to welcome you warmly to this great event, which is the second annual conference of AfAS in a hybrid mode. And I welcome you all who are present physically, who have made it to Cape Town, this great city, where precisely in this old observatory of Cape Town, which is the historical one, the first one in Africa. We are next to the Table Mount. We have a few miles away, there is this Robben's Island thing. So we are really in a great location hosted by great people here in the observatory, and which are, of course, our office is here. This adventure started 3 years ago, precisely in this place, where we started this what is called African Astronomical Society, which tried to be the voice of astronomy in the continent, and to make sure that this continent is not left aside the astronomical development. So we have to get our act together, bring the professionals together, although we do cater for the needs of the other segments of people who are working in astronomy, amateurs, or people who from working around planetarians and all those things. So during these 3 years, great things happened. Some others didn't happen, obviously, but there is a next executive committee to carry on, because indeed, at the end of this 5 days meeting, and after having listened to something like 80 communications and many workshops and even training sessions, there will be the General Assembly, which will discuss what we have achieved, or we think we have achieved, and what we need to go further. And at the same time, we'll be electing the next executive committee. So 3 years is long and short at the same time. As I said, and you can see the scope of what we have been doing, possibly by just visiting the great site, the online site of AfAS. And I urge you to do that. You will see so many things which has happened, whether at the forefront of science, some many initiatives that we have started and which will perhaps be fertilized and go further in the next few years, and also at the forefront of outreaching. Documents are there in various languages. In fact, we try to be as Pan-African as possible. You'll see that many documents of activities we have done are in almost all the spoken languages in Africa. So not to be too long, but anyway, as I say, there's a rich menu. It's a meaty meeting this time, much more extensive than the last year, which was fully online. There is people from all Africa and outside Africa will be speaking, will be with us in those 5 days. And I should say also a word of thanks to, again, the observatory who is welcoming us and hosting us, and certainly to the DSI, the Directorate of Science and Innovation, who has supported us as he has done from the early age, and which supporting us financially and logistically for this adventure, which is 3 years old, as Petri was mentioning. It was created precisely here. Then finally, I should again say that you have 5 days to enjoy and contribute and learn. And so let us go further and start the rich menu which is offered to you. You have all the programs, and welcome again. Thank you.
Okay, we'll next hear from our minister, Dr. Blaise Monde, but there's a slight change in the program, so we will not hear a recording, but it will be read by, Takalani Namgani from the ministry. Thanks, Teke.
Good morning and welcome. Once again, apologies on behalf of the minister who has not been able to join us, but because of the importance of this gathering, he has sent us his speech, which I'm going to now read on his behalf. Program Director, Professor Petri Faisanen of the South African Astronomical Observatory, the President of AfAS, Professor Jamal Minoni, African Union Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology, Professor Mohamed Belhossein, President of the IAU, Professor Deborah Meloy Elmegreen, President of the South African Institute of Physics, Professor Makaiko Chitambo, Chief Executive Officer of the National Research Foundation, Professor Fulufero Neramondo, Director of the IAU OAD, Mr. Kevin Govender, all AfAS members, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me pleasure to be addressing this second annual scientific gathering of the African Astronomical Conference, which we are hosting as South Africa through my Department of Science and Innovation and our agency, the South African Astronomical Observatory. I intended to be joining this conference in person. However, other equally important engagements prevented me to do so. However, given the importance of this conference to South Africa and the continent at large, I decided to join through this message. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all the conference delegates, those who have joined the conference physically, and those who joined the conference virtually. You are all welcome, including all the South African participants. For those that are attending the conference physically, please enjoy the South African hospitality and the splendor of the mother city, Cape Town. Please ensure that you visit our renowned attractions such as Table Mountain and Robben Island, where the father of the democratic South Africa, President Nelson Mandela, spent 18 years in that prison. Ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural annual conference of AfAS took place virtually on the 8th to 12th March 2021. This inaugural conference had diversity and quality of presentations that demonstrated that astronomy on the continent is vibrant, internationally competitive, and has the potential to expand and flourish even more into the future. Although this is the second installation of the AfAS conference, astronomy is not new to our continent, Africa. The early societies of Africa were one of the first groups of people to show a keen interest in the stars and planets. They even named celestial bodies while studying them for astrological purposes. Rightfully so, I can claim that Africa is the home of astronomy. The AfAS conference was established to create and support a globally competitive and collaborative astronomy community in Africa, and to be the voice of astronomy in Africa while addressing the challenges faced by Africa through the promotion and advancement of astronomy. Therefore, this conference is amongst the most profound platforms to ensure that AfAS performs its essential role of coordinating a network of astronomers, promoting the study and applications of astronomy, promoting astronomy research collaborations, advising government stakeholders on astronomy-related policy, and fostering the growth of astronomy in Africa to derive socio-economic benefits and to increase Africa's contribution to the global body of knowledge. This year's installation of the AfAS conference focuses on science outreach, communication, and education activities emanating from astronomy in Africa. This conference also seeks to enhance further collaboration among countries in Africa and the rest of the world, The conference also focuses on the status of astronomy infrastructure, AfAS-led flagship projects, astronomy for development, initiatives to attract and retain youth in astronomy, and to strengthen existing activities in the field. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the AfAS committees and the partner projects, the African Planetarium Association, the African Science Stars publication, the African European Radio Astronomy Platform, who work tirelessly to ensure that this conference takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, the astronomy landscape in our continent continues to evolve with proposed infrastructure planned. This includes the extension of the current 64 antennas of the Meerkat telescope to a full array of some 200 telescopes for the SKA. And the prospect of having the Africa Millimeter Telescope, the AMT, that will form an essential link in the Event Horizon Telescope network. The AMT project aims at realizing a 15-meter single-dish radio telescope on the Gamsberg Mountain, not far from the site of the HES in Namibia. This will be the only radio telescope in the millimeter wavelength regime in Africa. The recently commissioned 32-meter Ghana Radio Astronomy Telescope at Kuntunze will be part of the African Very Long Baseline Interferometry in the preparation for the second phase construction of the SKA across the African continent. The construction of the SKA is now set to begin following the recent creation of the Square Kilometer Array Observatory as an intergovernmental organization and approval for the start of the construction phase both in Australia and South Africa. AfAS is in the initial phase of developing a proposal for the African Integrated Observation System and Data Network that will incorporate existing African optical telescopes at the South African Astronomical Observatory, where you are currently meeting, and also the Interto Observatory and Research Center in Ethiopia, the Bouzaria Observatory in Algeria, the refurbished Kotamia Astronomical Observatory in Egypt, the Oka Maiden Observatory in Morocco, the future 1-meter optical telescope and the 1-meter optical telescope in Burkina Faso, as well as the proposed Kenya Optical Telescope Initiative Observatory. A range of benefits of such a network is scientific opportunities, shared access to telescopes, exchange programs, outreach, and human capacity building. In as far as education, outreach, and capacity building is concerned, capacity building initiatives include the development in Africa with radio astronomy, DAIRA, which is a Newton-funded program to train young Africans in astronomy, engineering, technology, and related fields. The National Astrophysics and Space Science Program, which is a multi-institutional postgraduate program training graduates in astronomy, astrophysics, and space science with alumni from the African continent. The launching of the SEED Research Grant that supports research projects in astronomy, including astrophysics and space science, conducted by postgraduate students and early career researchers based in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, all these projects aim to develop skills using astronomy infrastructure based in African countries, we must all be proud of these achievements. Since the commencement of operations on the 1st of April 2020, AfAS met various objectives, including laying a foundation for a sustainable institution going into the future, supported by the experienced South African Institute of Physics, the IAU-OAD, and the DSI Astronomy Unit. Like the rest of the world, Africa has also been affected by COVID-19 pandemic. AfAS was also not spared the negative effects brought by this global pandemic. However, AfAS Executive Committee and the Secretariat worked around the clock to ensure that the organization achieved its milestones and planned activities. This includes the setting up of all governance and internal control processes. During this period, AfAS also received a clean and qualified audit report for the 2020-21 financial year. AfAS did not stop there, but together with the IAU-OAD, the APA, they collectively funded small projects to enable communities to overcome some of the effects of COVID-19. Through this initiative, about 120 proposals were received and 43 projects supported through the grant funding. Indeed, astronomy can be used as an enabler to address societal challenges. AfAS further demonstrated its resilience and determination when it funded 5 more astronomical projects in remote teaching and learning during school closures due to COVID-19, providing follow-up capacity building for teachers involved in refugee camps, engaging elementary and high school children through art, providing the families of students with hygienic supplies, while also including educational astronomy-based material for the children and their families to enjoy while at home, and acquisition of recyclable personal protection equipment and hand wash for laboratory activities and awareness sessions. These projects are based in Tanzania, Algeria, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and South Africa. The APA also funded 4 additional projects in Kenya, Arabic-speaking countries, Ghana and Uganda. I'm also delighted that the AfAS Executive Committee established a subcommittee on fundraising and ultimately developing the funding strategy. Also, AfAS also established the African Network for Women Astronomers, AFNWA, which aims to connect women working in astronomy and related fields in Africa. With AFNWA, AfAS will indeed guarantee the future participation of girls and women at all levels in astronomy and science developments in Africa. This will ensure that the status of women in science in Africa is improved and will also inspire more girls to do science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects. AfAS also introduced AFNWA Awards in collaboration with the International Science Program at Uppsala University, Sweden, to recognize and support the scientific achievements and contributions of women in astronomy in Africa. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all fruitful engagements for the coming 5 days of the conference. I also wish you well in the General Assembly to be held, where a new executive committee will be elected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Takalani, and please pass our thanks and greetings to the Minister. And I also want to thank Takalani, you personally, for all the support you've given both AfAS and astronomy in general in this country and in the continent. Thank you very much. I'll next read a very brief message from the African Union Commissioner for Human Resources, Science and Technology, Professor Mohamed Belhossein, who could not be here. His Excellency, Professor Belhossein, would like to send his apology due to prior official commitments. However, the Commissioner congratulates AfAS for the laudable efforts it has launched through its annual conference and other activities, like we've just heard from the previous talk, and in contributing to the evolution of a globally competitive and collaborative astronomy community in Africa. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. It is amazing what we're doing for making astronomy, as it says, totally globally competitive and collaborative within the continent and elsewhere. It's important in times like these. Next, we will have a message from the President of the International Astronomical Union, IAU, and I understand this is a pre-recorded one, right? So you can play that, please.
I'm Deborah Elmgreen, President of the International Astronomical Union. I'm delighted to bring greetings on the happy occasion of the second annual conference of the African Astronomical Society, and only wish I could do so in person. The IU has a long history with African astronomers. We share similar goals in our meetings and activities as the African Astronomical Society. The IU was originally founded in 1919 to promote the exchange of scientific information among astronomers. It has 12,000 members from nearly 90 countries. The rich history of astronomy in South Africa led to its membership in the IU in 1922, shortly after the IU's founding. Other African national members of the IU include Algeria, the Republic of Botswana, Egypt, Ethiopia, Morocco, Nigeria, and most recently Madagascar and Mozambique. The IU over the past decades has expanded its mission to include a focus beyond research. The IU has 4 offices that use astronomy as a tool for the public and students. The officers are Astronomy for Development, for Education, for Young Astronomers, and Astronomy Outreach. They have regional coordinators around the globe. These activities are mirrored in the objectives of the African Astronomical Society and your program for this conference. We are proud to have the Office of Astronomy for Development headquartered in South Africa and directed by Kevin Govander. It is hosted jointly by the IU, NRF, and DSI, and has engaged hundreds of thousands of people in projects that draw on the excitement of astronomy and apply its technologies and techniques through key programs that address UN Sustainable Development Goals in communities. Its efforts this past year for targeting pandemic-related proposals have been especially positive. The IU also recognizes excellence through prizes and fellowships. Khaled Saeed from Cairo University and the University of Cape Town recently received the Gruber Postdoctoral Fellowship, and Miriam El Yajouri from Morocco won the PhD prize from Division H on interstellar matter. I'm delighted that the African Astronomical Society and African Network for Women in Astronomy have initiated the Women in Astronomy in Africa Awards and congratulate the inaugural winners. The IU also provides official names for celestial bodies and their features. Egyptian geologist Farouk El-Baz was honored with an asteroid naming in 2019 because of his work on the moon's surface and lunar landing sites. Africa has hosted several international schools for young astronomers, providing training in observations and data analysis. We're delighted that there will be another one in 2023. New hands-on workshops, now in the planning stage, will provide specialized training for early career astronomers in developing countries. There will also be a Middle East and African regional IAU meeting in 2023. The Working Group on Global Coordination of Ground and Space Astrophysics draws on our collective expertise in science and technology used to build large international observatories and their instruments and to analyze the massive volumes of data they will generate. We believe the best science is achieved through a diverse and inclusive global community working together. The South African Astronomical Observatory hosted the February 2020 meeting on transient astronomy just before the global pandemic shutdown. A new IAU Center for the Protection of Dark and Quiet Skies from Satellite Constellation Interference has just been announced. It will be co-hosted by the SKA Observatory and NSF's Noir Lab. It will coordinate countries working together to help mitigate the negative impact of satellite constellations on ground-based optical and radio astronomy and our enjoyment of the night sky. Of course, Africa has a long history of working to preserve dark skies. The IAU governing bodies focus on the advancement of astronomy by hosting annual symposiums and triennial general assemblies. Solomon Tessima from Ethiopia is one of our new vice presidents, and Renee Kwan Kortereg from South Africa served in the last triennium. The IAU is greatly looking forward to seeing many of you at its 32nd General Assembly in Cape Town in 2024, the first time an IAU-GA will be held in Africa. Your second annual conference mirrors the spirit of the IAU in bringing people together to collaborate and share their knowledge. I wish you all a wonderful meeting in General Assembly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. So that was Professor Deborah Elmgreen, IAU President. And we'll hear next messages from around the continent, from the various parts of AfAS. And the first one is from Professor Gad Mohammed El-Kadi, and this is on Zoom, I think. So, Prof. El-Kadi, if you're there, you can connect. We'll do a recording, all right? Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Dear Professor Jamal Maimouni, President of African Astronomical Society, dear distinguished honor speakers, it's my pleasure to be here today with you online since I could not be able to attend physically this very important meeting for the African Astronomical Society. Representing North African community, I would take this opportunity to introduce our facilities at NARIAGE. NARIAGE is a National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, one of the oldest research centers in North Africa and Middle East. We had working at Helwan since 1903 with the first optical telescope in Africa. Then currently we had Katamiya Astronomical Observatory. It is 74-inch, has a lot of achievement during the past decades. In addition to many other facilities at Katamiya Observatory, including Center of Excellence in Space and Astronomy, in addition to other Department of Solar and Space Research with solar observation telescope, Cody telescope, and many other facilities to calculate and measure solar radiation and solar energy, photovoltaics as well. Then a space research laboratory established since 1957, observing the artificial satellites and space debris with a newly integrated station for space debris. And all of these facilities have been shared for several years together with our colleagues from North Africa. In addition, recently we had worked together with Arab leagues to establish and already established Arab Association of Astronomy and Space Science. It's for Arabic community to get together in astronomy and space science, and this has a lot of outstanding achievement. Although it is newly established since 2019. And recently, last December, it was announced that we hosted Office of Astronomy Education for Egypt and Arabic-speaking community. I believe all these facilities, together with our colleagues from North Africa, we are working to make a lot of capacity building, sharing facilities and observation, arrange for training of young astronomers. Last couple of years, we had hosted Arab School for Astrophysics. The fourth and fifth was online, and currently the sixth school is organized and hosted at Qatar University. And next October, we'll have the second School of Astrophysics, shall be at Qattamiya Observatory. I think altogether we can do a lot to all North African community. Together with African Astronomical Society, we can extend and exchange our experience to all our African colleagues, and of course we will learn from many of their achievements, and it is welcome to share the facilities in all of these communities. I believe this meeting will be a very good to address many of new achievements for astronomical community of Africa. I would like to welcome all of you and wish you a very fruitful conference, and looking forward to meet you physically someday, either in any African astronomical society community, or you are welcome to visit us here at Nariaj. Thank you very much, and a very successful meeting.
Thank you very much, Professor Al-Qadi. And I should also say greetings to everybody participating from online from Northern Africa in this context. And then moving from North Africa, go to East Africa. And could I invite Alamio Mamo, representative of the East African AfAS.
Thank you, Petri, and good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here in person amid COVID pandemic, which prevent us to be only attend remotely. So I'm going to convey a message from East Africa community. Dear Professor Jamal Mimoni, AfAS President, Professor Petri, SEO Director, Dr. Bongosi, the Minister of South African Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Professor Mohammed, AU Commissioner, Professor Debra, IU President, Mr. Kevin Govender, OAD Director, Honorable invited guests and invited speakers, participants of AfAS conference, and all protocol observed. On behalf of East African community, I'm very glad to convey the message on the second annual conference of AfAS. Over the last decades, the East Africa community has grown steadily in size. There have also been significant advances in the development of astronomy in the region, which could be in terms of human capacity, infrastructure development, research and training, and regional and international collaborations. In East Africa, there are also professional astronomical society, the East Africa Astronomical Society, Regional Office of Astronomy for Development, also other scientific working groups and research networks, which contributes to the development of astronomy in the region. But however, there are challenges and difficulties in coordinating and synergizing the regional astronomical professionals and resources, which embeds the region's development of astronomy to reach to the point where it should be. So to address such limitation and the bottlenecks in the development of astronomy in the region and as well as in Africa, a comprehensive approach and strategies, as well as participation of all stakeholders at the region as well as continental level must be proposed. Thus, in accordance with the AfAS missions and vision, the East Africa community will strive and collaborate to build strong astronomical society in Africa that will make outstanding contributions to the advancement of astronomy around the world and to have an impact on the continent's socio-economic development. I hope that this AfAS conference will pave the way for strong regional and international collaborations, platform in astronomy research, supervision, education, and training across Africa and beyond. And finally, I would like AfAS to be a strong astronomical body in Africa that elevates the African Astronomical Professional Society to the level of the world-class society. And I hope the conference will achieve its goal. And I wish you all a memorable and enjoyable scientific deliberations, and thank you.
Thank you, Alamir. And from East African community, we move to West African community. And I invite Dr. Bonaventure Okere. Yes, you here, excellent. Live on Zoom, all yours.
Thank you, the program director. I want to appreciate the President of Africa Astronomical Society, the Southern African Minister of Higher Education, the African Union Commissioner for Human Resources, the IU President, and distinguished colleagues present here and those who could not be there here as well. I give you a message from the West African astronomic community. We are so glad to be given this opportunity to brief the participants on what's happening in West Africa and our efforts. First of all, the West African community want to remind this gathering that the first attempt to begin AfAS started in West Africa and Burkina Faso, as far back as 2009, 2010, thereabout. And we also want to know that, to say that prior to formation of AfAS and OA, the astronomy activities have been very low in West Africa. I want to thank the OAD for the effort, IAU. The Southern African government have been funding part of projects, activities of OAD, who has actually led a lot of developments in West Africa, especially through SKA, which has made us to have a functional 32-meter radio telescope in Ghana, in West Africa. I can say now that West Africa is becoming a very active community in astronomy, thanks to AfAS. Some of the executives of AfAS also come from West Africa. Now, to help West Africans become part of the very big enduring projects which South Africa is doing through SKA and the other astronomy projects, we have been making efforts in West Africa to build a critical mass of astronomers. And this we have been doing through organizing summer schools, the one we call the Pan-African School for Emerging Astronomers, which we are spreading to other African countries. I want to thank OAD for helping us fund these projects. And our activity in West Africa cannot be rolled out without appreciating our partners from European Union, Regional Office of Astronomy for Development, North American Regional, North American roads, and other roads, East African and Southern African. So these collaborations has led us to establishing and exposing our students through mobility funds to expose to astronomy facilities across the world. Institutions that are doing astronomy, most of students are traveling to gain experiences because we don't, in West Africa, don't want to be left behind in the happenings in African astronomy. So I want to welcome all that's present here and thank you AfAS for initiating the second conference, which is holding in Southern Africa. I want to thank Kevin Govenda in particular, Jamal Mumuni for all their efforts to sustain AfAS in this second coming. And since AfAS, Jamal has taken over the reign of power of AfAS, things have been moving progressively. And I hope at the end of this meeting, we're also going to have an executive that will build on the legacies being started in Cape Town when we form the second phase of AfAS. We are so glad to be present at this meeting. We keep on following and make our own contribution to the AfAS. Thank you for giving your ear to this brief greetings from West Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bonaventure, very good to see you after a while. And again, greetings to everybody joining from West Africa, as East Africa as well. Alamio was here, but a lot of your colleagues are joining from East Africa.
Thank you very much.
We're running ahead of time, but do we have the next speakers online? Excellent. So I'd very much, it's my privilege to introduce you to Professor Fulofelo Nelwamondo from NRF. So really good to see you. So this is just for you to know, for the audience, this is the person I actually report to ultimately in Pretoria. Good to see you in this context, and very welcome, Fulofelo, to our Astronomy Society meeting. So as you've probably heard, so this is the second general assembly of this organization, which we're very excited about. And yes, we're privileged to hear the greetings from NRF to our body. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director Petru. I do feel like an astronomer for a change. Honorable Minister Nzimande, in his absence, the President of AfAS, Prof. Jamal Mimoni, President of International Astronomical Union, Prof. Deborah Meloy Elmegreen, esteemed colleagues and guests, and that includes every one of you. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to join you on this very significant day that marks the start of the 5 days of deep discussions in the field of astronomy. We meet at the time that the pandemic is still with us. And of course, we would have loved to have everyone in one room. Of course, now we have to adjust to the new ways of doing things and having this session in the hybrid form as we have it now. I am very encouraged by the number of countries and regions that are represented in this conference. It affirms my belief that we need to embolden our collective commitment to support and enhance the borderless nature of scientific inquiry and its impact, emphasizing impact. Scientific collaboration increasingly needs the support of government, policymakers, and private sector. At the same time, we need to ensure that the collaborations are meaningful. It can't just be that we have collaborations just for the sake of collaborations. It be in the area of astrobiology, astrophysics, astrostatistics, cosmology, data science, instrumentation, and other areas. We need to find that very reason that makes us unique, but most importantly, that will help us make impact as a collective. As the NRF, we're very proud to host the two national facilities in astronomy, one in radio astronomy and the other in optical astronomy. But I just wanted to share a very short story. Recently, I've been talking to a few high school learners who aspire to be astronomers, and I think I've referred a few of them to the likes of Petri to have an engagement with them. In my interactions with them, it dawned on me that there are very few Blacks or Africans in this field compared to their proportions in the other fields. This is something that I think it requires us to think very thoroughly and objectively on how do we address this gap. I therefore would like to challenge the organizers and the members of the African Astronomy Society, in line with the aim of this conference, intensifying the growth of astronomy in Africa, to try to increase or to spark interest in many Africans who see astronomy as an elite science. There's a study that I just read in Forbes recently that was looking at, and this was in relation to the US, why there are so few physicists and astronomers who are Black in the US. The big takeaway from that study was that there are only two main factors in determining the level of representation. One being the environment, whether there's an adequate environment that is supportive, whether there's a caring and nurturing environment. And this environment can be extended to the time beyond the study period, including what are the job opportunities that are available within the market. That is the first element. The second element talks to the economics. And in the economics, as you know, it's all about whether the department that one is studying in is fully financially supported, whether it is sustainable, whether they are facing financial challenges. Amongst all other factors, these two were found to be the critical ones to affect representation in the field of astronomy. Of course, as I've mentioned, this is in relation to the United States of America. I do believe that there are some lessons that we can pick from the study that are relevant for our context as Africans in Africa. I will leave this for you to reflect on. I believe that all the conference delegates recognize, respect, and value the diversity and pluralism of the global research and innovation ecosystems, and the subsequent variety in understanding, in approaches and priorities towards the attainment of global grand challenges. Many questions come to mind, and again, I want to excite you by these questions so that in your deliberations over the next 5 days, you can start thinking of solutions to some of these. The first question is, how do we use our collective knowledge of astronomy to address societal problems? The same message that we just heard from West Africa now about the number of people in astronomy or who have interest being smaller, I think that applies across the whole of the continent. But some of the challenges that lie in this field are questions that many people coming from the poor backgrounds have to say, if I do this study, where do I find jobs? What is the impact of this? Yeah, we can look into the stars and study this and so on, but what is the end game? Of course, sitting in this room, I fully understand the value of astronomy. It's a question of how do we actually take it to the people? And I think this is a challenge that we need to think very carefully about and see how we can actually use our knowledge to ensure that societal problems are addressed through astronomy. We also know in this room of the many innovations that came from astronomy. I'm not going to spend time listing them, but I don't think a general citizen sitting in Ghana, sitting in Nigeria understands the value or understands these innovations. The bigger question that we have is, how do we then make society know of these discoveries that astronomy has brought into this world? How do we ensure that they can actually engage with these discoveries so that they can actually move away from the thinking of seeing astronomy as a science of the elite? Ladies and gentlemen, the various engagements and sessions during the next 5 days indeed confirm that our agent and astute approaches are necessary to rapidly satisfy our scientific curiosity. It affirms that we need to be intentional in our efforts towards increased networks, increased and effective research and research infrastructure investments, again, strengthening the research leadership for development in Africa. I think these are key elements that we need to think of. And again, this will be an input that probably for the next 2 years we'll be discussing as an input towards the 32nd General Assembly of the International Astronomical Union in 2024 that will be hosted again here in Cape Town. This, as it has been mentioned, will be for the first time in the 105-year history of IAU that the General Assembly will be held on the African continent. This talks volumes in terms of the value of Africa in astronomy. And I think we need to actually make sure that we actually advance and amplify this and ensure that it reaches every element of our society. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you all the best in your deliberations for the next 5 days. I believe that much more is going to come out, but more than it just being a discussion, let it be a discussion that will shape Africa going forward. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Elwamondo, and yeah, for those thoughtful words and challenging. And indeed, may that be something that we think not only this week, but going forward as we prepare for the General Assembly, how to transform the community, how to think of impact while we do professional astronomy. Thank you very much for that, fellow. I would next want to invite the president of the SAIP, the South African Institute of Physics, Prof. Makaiko Chitambo. And thank you for joining us live as well on Zoom. So yes, the floor is yours. Are you muted, perhaps?
Yeah. The Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Nzimande, in his absence, the President of the African Astronomical Society, Professor Memuni, the CEO of the National Research Foundation, Professor Nerwamondo, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I'm delighted this morning to address you as the President of the South African Institute of Physics. This conference, the African Astronomical Conference of the African Astronomical Society, it comes at the back of 2 years of uncertainty and disruptions. But despite these disruptions, you still found ways to make progress. You know, progress enough to justify a gathering of this nature. And this is evident in the program, which has up to 18 sessions on various facets of astronomy. It's delightful to see that the representation is genuinely African, with papers from all across the continent, and for good measure, from elsewhere outside our continent. For us at the SIP, this gives us pleasure because we were actually involved in the establishment of the African Astronomical Society, and we take pride in its success. The SIP is the voice of physics in South Africa, and the Institute nurtures physics talent through its activities. It provides a platform for networking and for pooling of expertise to promote physics in research, in education, in economy, and in society. In fact, our mission and goals mirror those of yours. And there's one point that I would like to single out and reiterate that Professor Nerwamondo actually pointed out. If we are going to have properly educated and capable future astronomers, then we need good quality first-time entering students at university. You know, astronomy appeals to the imagination of many. And in that, you already have one important tool that is needed, that is necessary for successful outreach. I know that you are preoccupied with advanced research, but see how you can contribute to outreach, because that's where future astronomers come from. You know, your MSc students, your PhD students, your postdocs, and collaborators, and whatnot. That's where they are going to come from. At this point, I would also like to thank the government of South Africa, because it's under the government that, under the auspices of its funding, that the country now hosts world-class astronomical facilities. Being a condensed matter physicist myself, I can only look with envy at the Southern African Large Telescope, the newly built MeerKAT, SKA, and other CATs dotted across the African countries. You know, truly impressive. I'm told that MeerKAT alone has already cropped up to 100 papers. So the fruits of the unwavering support from government is clear, and for that, we are extremely grateful. Finally, to my colleagues at the African Astronomical Society, you are most welcome to use our platforms at the SIP to promote your society. We have our magazine. We host webinars, you know, and we have well-established history of promotion of various activities that is open to you. So finally, I would like to wish you a successful and stimulating conference over these coming 5 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words, Prof. Chitambo. And yeah, indeed, from our brethren sister organization, much bigger than us, but from the physics community. And yes, we will definitely want to work more together. And yeah, thank you for those words of also how we want to inspire and promote the next generation and how to get students involved at the first steps and into careers in science and high technology in general. Thank you very much again. Okay, so the final speaker of this session, morning session, is the director of the IAU Office of Astronomy for Development, OAD. And I don't think for this audience, Kevin needs very much introductions. He's been central in all aspects of development of astronomy on this continent, including AfAS. And Kevin, please.
So we have enough social distance to remove our masks. Thank you very much, Petri. Thank you to the organizers. My greetings to everyone. It's really nice to see such a spread of familiar faces after a long time. Well, the top parts of your faces behind the masks. Thank you very much to organizers, and my greetings as well in terms of protocol, all protocol observed. There have been several high-level speakers, and you would have heard mention every now and then of the OAD. So in case anyone is unfamiliar with OAD, we're an office of the International Astronomical Union. You heard mention of it by the president of the IAU. Our purpose is really to look at how we use all aspects of astronomy essentially to make the world a better place. We use astronomy for development. We try to find different ways in which aspects of this field, whether it's the technological aspects, the cultural aspects, the education outreach aspects, how do we use all this to make the world better? This office is based here at the South African Astronomical Observatory. It's a global coordinating office, but there are 11 regional offices around the world. And the main approach that we take is to call out to anyone, anywhere in the world, that if you have an idea to use astronomy to make your community better, your society better, then put forward your idea. And we fund proposals like that. So far, we've funded over 200 projects in over 100 countries. And from these, we try to gain ideas and to have people learn from other projects, learn from each other, so that we can find ways as we grow astronomy to also make sure that the impact on society is there. Now, the African Astronomical Society is a very special organization. And we've been closely involved in its evolution. But what is it about? And what is AfAS about? Or what is astronomy in Africa about? Is it about the stars, or is it about people? And AfAS, did I do something? AfAS is a society, it's a professional society responsible for growing the field of astronomy. But at the same time, on the African continent, it's about bringing people together. Because on the African continent, astronomy is still growing. We're still finding our way as a community. And AfAS has managed so far to bring people together. The people that we see here in person, the people that we see online. because astronomy is a special field. It's not just about exploring and furthering human knowledge. It's also about bringing people together. And the African community is coming together under this subject, under African skies. We know that all our cultures across the continent have had connections to the skies. What we are doing now as astronomers, as this astronomy community, is not much different than our ancestors have done. Is to look up and wonder, is to try and satisfy our curiosity as to what is going on in the universe. This field is something that challenges human knowledge. And as such, it is something a bit special in terms of our global position of the African continent. Because as you know, globally, the African continent doesn't have the best of reputations. There are people who see Africa as something lower than we actually are. The perspectives of Africa have been is something. The negative perspectives of Africa is something that we want to change, and by taking a field that challenges all of human knowledge, pushes the technological bounds of what we're capable of, and leading that from the African continent is a way of changing perspectives of Africa. When we talk about growing astronomy, we're not talking just about growing the field of astronomy. We're talking about growing the perspective of how Africa does science. And we have this opportunity. Several people have mentioned the IAU General Assembly in 2024, this opportunity of having the world's focus on the African continent as we host the IAU General Assembly. But why is it so important for us to change perspectives? You know that biases exist in this world. When South Africa announced the Omicron variant, what was the reaction of the world? Was it, thank you, you guys have excellent science? Or was it, let's cut off travel to South Africa, to Southern Africa, to African countries? Why was that? Where's the belief in Africa's ability to do good science? And that is what we talk about when we talk about growing astronomy in Africa. We are talking about growing a field that challenges all of humanity. And if we can lead it on this continent, then we can change the perspective so that the next time we discover a new variant of COVID, it will be celebrated globally. We will not be punished for that discovery. But these biases are found in many different places, and you know that that this exists and that we suffer from it. So how can we take this forward? Not just about taking the field of astronomy forward, but also about bringing people together and changing perspectives. So from our perspective as the Office of Astronomy for Development, we want to support AfAS. We want to see AfAS grow. We want to see the community of astronomers on the continent to grow. And at the same time as that growth of astronomy, we want to ensure that there is constantly benefit to all people on the African continent. And as we do this, let us change the perspectives of the world on Africa. So thank you very much. And I'm very glad to see AfAS where it is today. And I want to assure you from the side of the Office of Astronomy for Development, you have our full support, and let us grow this continent to the stars and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for that inspiration. We always need it, and I think we always get it from you, so thank you so much. And okay, we're coming to the end of our morning session. So let me just put, from the program director, just for 30 seconds, put my SAO hat back on. So a little bit similar to what Kevin said, that as SAO, we would also want to be right there to serve the community. So in these aspects that were mentioned, both whether it's the professional development of astronomy, there's many astronomers here, one of the biggest, if not the biggest center of professional astronomers in the continent. We want to leverage that to the benefit of everybody. We have amazing observational facilities in Sutherland. We're working to make them easier accessible remotely. In fact, that's one of those things, as many of you have probably heard, we are remotely we're using our telescopes in Sutherland remotely from anywhere. You don't need to travel there anymore. We're working on automation. It was mentioned earlier about these networking of telescopes around Africa. We want to be right in the center of that kind of development. Also training, and we're looking at new levels of that as well, you know, say in astronomical instrumentation technology development hub kind of thing, where we could serve as a node of that kind of development, training, a place where people could come for weeks and months, go back to their countries, or send some expertise that we might have elsewhere. And then also the outreach aspects, the development aspects that Kevin talked about. So yes, so from the bottom of my heart, SAO wants to be in that kind of service. Whatever we have developed over the years and decades, we want to serve the continent in that, and it's great to have so many of you here to network. And we will have now that opportunity to network as well. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so we'll have a coffee break for about 25 minutes. But before that, let me ask Charles Takalana. He's the head of secretariat of AfAS, also housed here at SAO. And probably most relevant to the local people over here, but some housekeeping. Thank you, Charles. And thank you, by the way, for organizing this conference. Absolutely great work in getting things together. Hybrid is always difficult, as you know. It's more difficult than one or the other. So thanks.
Yeah. Oh, you don't realize how short you are until you're actually here. Anyway, so just like to thank all of you for registering to attend our conference, and just gonna do just a bit of housekeeping. So all the links are available for those attending online. All the links are just on the program. So if just on the top of each session, you'll see the link to each one of the sessions. And as we've heard today, we're going to have our General Assembly this Friday. But we've sent an announcement various times to let people and remind people that they should apply and register for, or rather apply for the AfAS membership, and only AfAS members will have access to the General Assembly on Friday, and they'd be sent those links for the General Assembly. So today we've got a range of invited talks. So the bios for all the invited speakers and the abstracts are on the AfAS website. And also we've now have the list of all the nominees that are going to be voted, that are going to stand up for elections for the executive committee on the AfAS website. So you can also check that out. And their bios are also available there. And the voting, of course, will take place on Friday, and we'll send out all the instructions. And so the online venues, like I've said, is going to be the various Zoom rooms that we've gotten. The links are all available for all of you to find on there. So for the venue that is here, we've got the auditorium, which is the main venue. This is where all the science talks are going to be taking place. And then just down the road from here, we've got the 1896 building, and that is where we're going to have all the EDO sessions. And also, in case this venue is full, we'd also let some people also be at the 1896 building to join in the sessions. The toilets are right behind me. Just go through the door, and you'd find them as Petri is showing us. And you can also, if you can't find space in the toilets here, there's toilets again in the Salt building, which is just next door to this building. And the teas are going to be served just outside, and then this also includes your lunch, so just here by the foyer. And the Wi-Fi password, I know everyone, there is no Wi-Fi password, but you just look for the SAO network on the list of networks, and you should be able to connect. And yep, I think that's all the announcements from me. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So just to yes, it's 10:20. So in local time. In South African time, we'll convene again at 1:45, 25 minutes for tea and coffee. Enjoy.